If you have cauliflower ear and you work in the self-storage industry, there is no way you're getting away with not coming on the podcast. This week on Stories Behind the Door, we're going to talk to the Director of Business Development at MLCO Construction, Jordan Kader. Man, I've been excited to have this guy on the podcast since I first met him in person. He actually holds the record for the person I invited to be on the podcast the fastest. And the only reason I invited him on the podcast is because he has cauliflower ear. For those of you who don't know what cauliflower is, you're going to find out pretty soon. Before we dive in with Jordan Kader, I'm going to give a quick shout out to my friends at Kiwi 2 Construction. They have been supporters of this podcast, and I'm so grateful for Wayne Woosley and his team. Got a chance to hang out with a bunch of his team out in Vegas at the SSA show last week where I met Jordan. Give those guys a call if you need any help with steel buildings, whether it's self-storage, small bay flex. They have 30 plus years. We'll be able to help you out. He is Jordan Kader. I am Thaddeus Campbell. As I said, this guy's got a background that immediately, when I noticed his ears, I wanted to talk with him. So Jordan, want to thank you, first of all, for agreeing. You don't hardly know me from a hole in the wall. We spent a half hour talking with the rest of your team and my team out in Vegas, but really excited to dig into your story. So appreciate you coming on.
No, absolutely. Appreciate having me.
I'm looking forward to it. The podcast always starts with the same question. We're going to get around to cauliflower here, and we're going to let people know exactly what that is if they don't and where it came from. But I always start with self-storage, right? You guys are a GC. You perform in the self-storage space. It's such a weird, unique niche industry. I'm always interested to hear the story of how people found themselves in the self-storage industry.
Yeah, no, and I kind of just fell into it as well. Did not anticipate ever getting into it. Especially, it doesn't sound very luxurious when you're first, looking for new pursuits and career. And I actually got reached out by a recruiter, and they introduced me to, we were formerly RMD Construction, and reached out to me, went and had an interview with the team, and kind of fell in love with the idea of the simplicity of it in terms of less trade partners, actually the building structure itself, because I came from multifamily, residential, and some high-end commercial. So I'm like, okay, this is something I think I can get behind and really focus on, and I think really help grow this company. So it was something I was excited to get into. And then from there, started out as a PM and grew within the company. I was managing at most up to like 9 projects at once. It was insane. Yeah, it was quite learn by fire. They definitely threw me in and I had to figure it out. But it was definitely a good experience and I was fairly successful. From there, I went and got promoted to a senior project manager, and then I was managing other managers and the estimators. And we've now really grown and rebranded back in 2021 to MLCO Construction, and we're really starting to grow. We've got about 77 million in our pipeline. We're really pursuing and pushing. We're trying to be the best out there. I mean, as you know, being a wrestler, that's the main mindset of us, is to be the top 1% of the 1%. So that's what we're pushing here at MLCO, and we're all very, very eager. But yeah, no, that's kind of.
I love it. You opened the door for my next question, right? For those people that aren't familiar with cauliflower ear, mine is nowhere near what your level got to, but it's something that comes from wrestling. For me, I really got it from jiu-jitsu, but was a wrestler as well. So when I saw that cauliflower ear, I knew we were going to have something to bond with. And I want to kind of take you back because your wrestling journey started early, but it had ended at a place where I wore my first pair of Dan Gables, I think in 1986, the winter of 1985-86. So Dan Gable, the legendary coach of the University of Iowa. Talk to me a little bit about wrestling and the role it played in your life, and we'll dig into that story because I'm fascinated by it.
Sounds good. Sorry, you cut out there a little bit.
No worries. I want you to talk to me about wrestling and the role it played in your life.
Yes. Yeah. So wrestling, I feel like it's really just shaped my life completely. The work ethic, the discipline behind it, the drive, it really just, your capacity to suffer increases so much more because you're able to endure much more. It's really just, and it's kind of cliche. I heard on one of your other podcasts, one of your guests say, like, once you've wrestled in life, everything else is easy. It's a famous Dan Gable quote, and it's very true because it just transitions to everything. from your career to fatherhood, friendships, just anything whatsoever, you adapt it, and it works very, very well.
When did you start? How old were you when you got into it?
I was about, I would say 7, 8 years old. And my brothers were 4 and 5. It's funny. So I'm a first generation wrestler. My dad was actually a basketball player. So we started off trying basketball when I was 5. Didn't work out. I was a little too aggressive. They're like, we need to find something that's more suitable for you. So yeah, started when I was 7. And then, from there, obviously went on wrestling junior high, high school, college. And it's been, it was over about, say, 15 years of my life. And then I even coached after college and had a fairly successful career there too as well.
Love it. So listen, you didn't have a small level of achievement here. We talked about this. You went to Lincoln College out of high school, but were able to get into Iowa and go be part of the legendary Iowa wrestling team. Talk to me a little bit about, of course, by the time you got there, Dan Gable, no longer the coach, Tom Brands was there, but the history of Iowa. Listen, people that are born nowadays, they hear Penn State, but anyone that's my age, like Iowa wrestling has been it for 50 years. What was it like to be in that environment and in that room?
Oh yeah, I mean it's the mecca of wrestling. It's the most intense environment you can be. I mean, being in Carver Hawkeye Arena, it's like being at Ann Arbor Stadium for Michigan for football. The people, the support you have, the community. It's just it's really it's hard to put into words, to be honest, because it's just such a different atmosphere. And even going to the state in general, like on the high school level, you have so much support. But yeah, the Brands brothers, they're intense. The room is intense. You've got some really good guys that have coming out of that room, like Tony Ramos, Corey Clark, the Williams brothers. I mean, the list goes on. I actually had a very good relationship with TJ Williams. He was my big mentor. He is actually the highest winning percentage in Iowa history at 98-1. And I shaped my style a lot on his. I like the Brains Brothers style, but it was definitely more of a old school technique, kind of banging and getting in there and wearing the guy down. That's how a lot of how those two really got through the worlds and the Olympics when they're in their prime. But the Williams brothers were really, really intriguing to me.
Talk to me about that. And like when we see Jordan Kader as a wrestler, what defines you? What were you looking to accomplish?
I mean, of course, the win. Every wrestler has a mentality, regardless of what it looks like. We always think we're better than the person that we're across on the mat. For me, it was always just getting better every day, putting the extra work, getting up early, putting in extra workouts. If that's lifting, if it's swimming, we used to swim at 6 a.m. in the morning, and then go to class, have wrestling practice at 3, and then go work out and do like a circuit training, small weightlifting at about like 6 or 7 p.m. and then go hit the books a little more and then do it all over again. Talk about exhausting. But it prepares you for life, because once you get into the real world, you can adapt that work ethic to your job, like me with self-storage, and apply it, and it makes things much, much more conducive.
I love this, and I take it back to you as a project manager managing 9 different deals at the same time, and the level of work, that's not a 9 to 5 when you're running, and it certainly doesn't surprise me that you then get promoted to senior project manager. Most people don't understand the level of dedication that it takes to become an athlete at that level, and that it doesn't fit between the hours that normal people work. Talk to me a little bit about how that process from 7 years old all the way through Iowa prepared you for success in the real world.
I mean, it's just that. It's just doing the extra, because everyone has that natural talent, and natural talent is not enough. And it could be your natural talent to speak. It could be with, analytical skills, whatever the case may be, but you have to put in that extra effort. You got to go above and beyond, especially if you want to be the best. And that's kind of been my mindset since the moment I got into wrestling. When I figured out I could go to state and win a state championship, I couldn't believe it. And now it's the same thing with self-storage. We want to be the best GC possible. Not only just in terms of revenue, but be giving the best service. At MLCO, we're big with the hospitality mentality. We want to serve our clients because I feel it's very underutilized in the construction industry, and even towards the subcontractors too. So giving that same mentality towards the subs, obviously they help give you good pricing, to help with the schedule, to help not nickel and dime you on change orders. So if you're good to them, I mean, it all kind of comes full circle.
I love that conversation. And I was going to ask you about that. Like, you have this personality that jumps, right? I met you last Wednesday. Like, this is the first time I ever met you in person. Your personality just jumps off. And the personality is like, it's not like, overzealous. It's like, "Hey, man, what can we do? How can we help you? How do we do business together?" And it comes from a very positive place, and I guess maybe some of that is the confidence from wrestling, but talk to me how you because listen, Imma be honest, I met with 10 GCs while I was in Vegas, and there's some really good people, there's some people that I really like. How do you differentiate yourself within that world, especially now when everyone in storage knows it's a tightening market, right? There's not as much business to be had right now as there might have been 2, 3, 4 years ago. How does Jordan Kader differentiate MLCO and make it something where someone wants to come work with you?
It's again the hospitality part, just being Johnny on the spot, being super responsive, quick to communicate. When something's asked of you, you go out and get it, and you find it ASAP, because that will speak volumes. And you've got a small window, really. You got to. I mean, you heard me say it before. You got to strike when the iron's hot, and you can't wait. So I'm not one to do that.
I love that mentality. We had a conversation, Monday morning at like 10 a.m. And you're in Central Time. You're an hour behind me. I get a follow-up email to me and the rest of my team. And I'll be honest, you were the first person that I met with in Vegas to send that follow-up. Where does that mentality come from where it's like, man, I'm going?
My coaches, for sure. I mean, that derives from, like I said, TJ Williams, even brands, any camps I've went to, different coaches I've had there. My stepfather was a big influence with that too. And then my actual father, of course, too. But the big thing was my wrestling coaches. I think they really put that into my head just to be persistent, and never stop. Just keep pushing it, pushing in the next limit. And then I think that just helps transition.
I love this so much. I'm going to give a shout out to my coach, Tiger Schulman, who is maybe the most successful martial arts instructor in the history of the world. If you balance like successful students, right? Put 8 students in the UFC and then, has 50 plus locations of his students teaching other students, 10, 12,000 people a month taking martial arts. He used to say to us, man, like we were running a business, right? So he'd say to us, look, if your phone rings and you don't answer it, someone else is gonna answer it. Like, it doesn't matter. Like, if you're on the toilet, don't answer. Send a text message, say, "I'll call you right back." But there's really no other excuse for not like, the little simple things of answering the phone, and I give so much credit to that. For me, that mentality of like, man, it's like, do the simple things, but do them really well and do them over and over. Our shared background in that high level athletics has really played a role in that. What I wanna ask you is I've been in a wrestling room. Now, my wrestling room is very different than yours, right? I was at Eaglebrook School in Western Massachusetts from 7th grade to 9th grade. Very different than being in the Hawkeye wrestling room at Iowa. A little less traumatic, but it was friggin' hard. Like, it was really, really hard, and I was pretty good. Like, by my 9th grade year, I was winning most of my matches, but dude, the pain and suffering that you go through in those two, and we were 2 hours, like you were doing, 5, 6 hours of exercise a day. We didn't have to cut weight in 9th grade. We were getting matched up based on skill level and approximate weight. How do you embrace that suffering that it takes to be, 6 a.m. in the pool, 3 o'clock in the wrestling room, 6 o'clock lifting again? How do you go through that?
That's a great question. I mean, and really, it's just you just have to do it. You can't think about it. The moment you think about it and you start negotiating with yourself, that's when you stop doing things and you stop being disciplined. So you just have to get in and do it, and then also keep in the back of your head, what's the ultimate goal? What's that? Is it a gold medal? Is it X amount of sales? What is that goal at the end of the day? So I always just constantly remind myself. I'll even have little like signs on my wall or here on my back of my board, just to constantly remind me what I'm doing, what I'm here for, and what I need to do to get there.
Where does that come from? And talk to me a little bit about your goals. Like, yeah, it's one thing to think that, but I'm gonna rewind back to when I was 18 years old, and I'm like, man, and I'll be honest, I went to college and was a cross country runner. I got an injury, and then I realized how much fun school was, and I stopped running because school was fun. So I'm really intrigued by like, yeah, have the goal, know what the outcome was, but when you're 18 years old, what was the goal that kept Jordan Kader? Listen, you went to Lincoln College first, not like you got right into Iowa. You had to fight to get to that next level. What was in your head that was pushing you for that level of achievement?
The thing is, I knew I had the capability, even though I didn't have the most. I didn't have. It didn't. My high school career wasn't what I expected. And I knew that I had the ability. I had a few injuries too that kept me back. So I knew if I just kept pushing and didn't give up, that I could still obtain the goals that I wanted to. It's just always been kind of innate in me too. I've always been like that in any sport, not just wrestling, but football, track, baseball. I think I just I've got that competitive drive, and it might be a little egotistical at times too, but it's it's necessary evil, right?
I listen, every room I went into when I started doing martial arts, you know, I just believe that I could be as good as anyone else who is in the room. And so I can really understand that innate feeling. Now, the reality was I wasn't as good as everyone else in the room, but the belief that I could be made me go and challenge those people that were at the highest level. And I guess what I want to do now is I want to fast forward to Jordan Kader, the professional, right? We're not wrestling anymore. We're out wrestling in the business world. How does that translate for you into your day to day as you're talking to customers, as you're talking to clients, as you're talking to subs, if you're still working on the project management side of it? How does that background from the wrestling room translate into those conversations?
Yeah. So for me, it's law of averages. Like right now, I'm in my business development role, so it's talking to many people as possible. Getting through the nose to get to your yeses. And to me, it was always me after practice. All right, I need to do X amount of takedowns, X amount of escapes, and I always tried to do as many as I could. Like the other cliche wrestling saying is to do 1,000 motions or 1,000 moves before you can actually do it on the mat.
Yeah.
So I've always kind of taken that mindset, just numbers in terms of, like I said, law of averages, and just talking to as many people as I can, and just helping to push and grow this company.
I love that. And talk to me now. You said earlier you knew exactly what your pipeline is, which I appreciate greatly, right? That number comes right off the top of your head. What's the goal? What's the goal that Jordan Kader has and MLCO has as far as being a great GC?
Yeah, absolutely. So right now our biggest goal is right now we want to grow another $100 million in 2026. So basically, I've got 4 months, and that's $25 million, a month, and really it's not just $25 million in pursuit projects. I need to pursue more than that. So we're talking 10 to 15 projects in these next 4 months. So I've got a lot of work to do. And that's where I'm pushing right now. And then in 2027, we want to grow to 500 million. And that's the way we're going to do that is just with, I think, our approach and being a design build contractor and really helping and guiding developers, owner operators through the entitlement pathway and developing the projects and then pre-construction all the way through ops and then handing the keys over. So we're really big on that. We got a great team too. We've got a bunch of traveling supers that'll go across the nation. Us being licensed in 26 states is very helpful as well. So we got a long reach.
Talk to me about that. I was going to ask it, and you're making this really easy for me because you're setting up the transition to my next question. I was going to ask you about the people you're surrounded with. Right? I first got connected with Joe Price, you guys' president, before I ever met you. Wrestling's an individual sport, right? When you go on the mat, it's you, and you're facing one guy, and nobody's there to help you in that moment. But the room that you train in daily is super important, right? Without those high level training partners,
Oh,
that one on one match doesn't go so well. So, talk to me a little bit about the importance of having the right people around you and what's that like? What's that like at MLCO?
and that's I love that. It's extremely vital because you need good people around you. Like you hear, iron sharpens iron. That was big in the wrestling room, and the same thing here in the office atmosphere. We try to hire the best people we can because we push each other. We make sure we get the best estimators, the most experienced PMs, but also making sure they're a cultural fit. That is very key. You can have all the skills in the world, but if you're not a cultural fit, it can turn things around. And yeah, I mean, I've seen in the past. So that's very, very important. And then I have nothing but great things to say about Joe Price. He's been a breath of fresh air since he's taken over as CEO, and he's really turned this company around. I mean, we've grown tremendously. I think our projects at least in 50% more than what we were last year, and he's made some great hires. We've got a new DOC, an office in Denver now. I mean, because we started as a little company of when I first started at RMD, it was 3 of us in Chicago. That was it. It was me, managing director, and our DOC. So very small firm.
Yeah.
Now, we're in Chicago, we're in Calgary, we're in Denver. We've got probably aggregate total of 50 plus employees. So it's just been quite the transition. And this has been a small amount of time. We're talking 5 years here. So I mean, proof is in the pudding.
I love that, man, and it talks to me a lot and tells me a story without even really having to dig in of who Jordan Kader is and the energy level. It doesn't shock me in any way, shape, or form that you've been a part of that type of growth. I'm gonna ask you to share your screen. I didn't
Yeah.
prep you for below, but there's a little share screen button down on the bottom of the screen on the app we use to tape this. I want you to show me a picture. You showed me a picture when we were out. I happen to know what cauliflower ear looks like. And
Yes.
your ears don't naturally show like big old puffy, Cale Sanderson ears now, but you have a picture of your ear when it was really messed up. I want to see that, man. I want to see what it
Yes.
looked like.
No, I was one of those guys that actually cared about his appearance, unlike most of the guys on my team. So
Yeah.
I
When
uh
it happened, you took care of
brain.
it.
Oh yeah, I got like 2.5 syringes full of blood and pus out of this year. And I got it, and I used to wear a hat too, so it helped pin it down.
Nice.
Yeah,
You can see though, man, if you turn from one side to the other, the
yeah, oh
ridges
yeah.
ear, yeah, that ear doesn't look the same as the other one. It's
No,
great.
it's not
Mine
even.
is very unnoticeable. You can see it if you pull it. Like if I'm touching this, it's hard and calcified, but there's nowhere near as much as on your ears, which is, yeah, that is a
Oh
beauty.
yeah.
That's a double leg takedown gone wrong right there.
Oh yeah, and this wasn't even the worst of it too. This was right before I got drained, but it eventually closed completely where I couldn't even put in headphones. It was
Oh,
yeah.
fun.
It
You
feels
got
like
a canal there now to put AirPods in or no?
what's that?
I said, can you fit AirPods in now or no?
Now I can, yeah. Now it's no
Oh,
problem.
I
Yeah.
love it. Yeah, most people will never know the joy of sticking a syringe into their ear and pulling blood out of it. I can say honestly, I've had it. I've been able to do that myself, which is not a lot of fun, but like you, I cared. I can remember the first time I got it and Tiger Schulman, I was in training one day and he's like, well, here's where you get to make a choice. Do you want to be pretty or not? Because if you want to be pretty, it's time to take a couple weeks wearing ear guards. If not, don't worry about it. I chose pretty, so I put ear guards on for a couple weeks.
Well,
Oh,
it's a
that's
good
a
thing I
great
got the same because my wife's like, if you would have had that ear, I'm not sure I would have spoke to you.
Oh man, there's some guys that you see that just didn't care that their ears are so mangled now that it's absolutely disgusting to look at. You got any pictures when you were wrestling either in high school or at Lincoln or at Iowa that you have teed up for me?
Yeah, so I'm looking here. Yeah, so unfortunately, we didn't have a ton of quality pictures back then. So here
You
I've got.
didn't have an iPhone you were carrying around in your back pocket?
No,
Think how I feel, my friend. I'm 20 years older than you are, so I mean, and for people who don't understand, by the way, that doesn't feel good. Like when your ears bleeding like that, it's not a fun
no.
feeling.
It's
It
it's
is.
it's feel the way I like to explain it. It feels like a giant, like when you have a zit that's about to pop, and
Yep.
it's at that state. It's so tender. That's what it feels like.
Yep.
It's trying to sleep. Oh, it's a pain. Here's one. Yeah.
That's great.
Yep, we got
Um,
one here, and then
I can't even tell you how much fun I'm having going down this path, bringing me back to my martial arts days. But as I said, even before that, I I talked to you about this yesterday briefly when we were chatting. I happened to go to a high school that didn't have a wrestling program, and it was the hardest part about that decision that I wanted to wrestle, but I had an opportunity to go to a school that everything else fit into place, and I never followed that path. I missed that sport so dearly and was very lucky that I got to be a little bit a part of it as I was going through the Tiger Schulman's world and practicing MMA, obviously, where wrestling is a big part of the discipline.
yeah, oh yeah, it goes hand in hand. I mean, if you look at like most of
100%.
the UFC champions, they're wrestlers. And
Yeah, very lucky to have called a few of those guys fights early in their career when they were fighting on the East Coast. I was a ring announcer for Ring of Combat where Chris Weidman came through there and Frankie Edgar came through there and John Vellante, a bunch of guys that were East Coast wrestlers that ended up going on to have a very high success level in the UFC, which is pretty cool. Trained in a room with Jimmy Rivera and Shane Burgos and Uriah Hall and Lyman Good, all guys that came out of Tiger Schulman's and end up fighting at the highest level. But yeah, we were grinding it out every day, man. Wrestling, like you said, try and get as many reps as you can on the mat. So when you go into the ring, it's not, leave it in the training room rather than in the ring was always the kind of the look at this. I love it. Gut wrench.
Yep. But
Oh, is that Carver Hawkeye?
as Carver, then we got another one here. There's another.
Love it.
And actually, a very interesting story about wrestling at Lincoln. I actually encountered 3 different UFC fighters, a former, current when I was there, and then a future. So we trained with Matt Hughes quite often. He
Yeah,
actually
very familiar.
he was a national champion there.
That's right. He was. He did go to Lincoln. I remember
Yes.
that now. Yep.
And I actually have a picture here with him. I'll pull that up too.
Oh, that's too cool. Look at that. God bless him too. And
Yeah.
say a prayer for Matt Hughes. He went through a really devastating car accident a few years ago that has been a challenge for him. That's fantastic.
Yeah. Yeah. He looked, unfortunately for me, he was whooping my butt then. He was.
Can't imagine the guy was only the
Guys, they don't take it easy on you.
no. 170-pound champion in the UFC, one of the best that ever was in the UFC in the early days. Really, really incredible competitor. Who are the other 2 guys?
And
You
then
said
we've got Robbie Lawler. So he came down again. Sorry for these pictures.
no, it's great.
Terrible phones back then.
Listen, if you don't love the UFC, this is the wrong episode of the podcast for you, but I'm geeking out right now. I can remember watching Robbie Lawler before, and Matt Hughes for that matter, before the UFC became a household thing, right? In 2005, they had the Ultimate Fighter on. Robbie Lawler was fighting at the highest level of the UFC before that, and he was like an 18, 19-year-old kid, unbelievable competitor, and so really cool for me to see that. That's neat.
Yeah, he had a very, very long career.
Yep, for sure. Fought for 20 years in the UFC.
And then last but not least, of course, so our heavyweight, I don't have a picture of him, but this is our team photo. So our heavyweight, Corey Anderson, it's pixelated.
Oh, you had Corey Anderson on your team. That's insane.
Yes, yeah, he's one of my good friends too. I still talk to him to this day. But yeah, he actually won the Ultimate Fighter.
He did.
And he's a Bellator champion.
Yep, and I followed his career. My buddy Lyman Good, who was one of my main training partners, was the original 170-pound Bellator champion. So I got to know Corey as he was coming up. Uriah Hall, and my other main training partner when I was fighting professionally, was 185 pounds in the UFC. So I've watched Corey Anderson fight many times. That's really cool. If you ever get a chance, tell him a guy named Thaddeus Campbell from Tiger Schulman said kudos because his career is fantastic. I would love you to pass that message along. That's really neat. Jordan, I can't even tell you how much fun this has been to, just kind of talk about your life and what it is. You got a special energy, man. And maybe it's just me. Maybe it's just because of my background and seeing your ears that I feel that way. But I think the story of what's going on at MLCO and what you guys have been able to accomplish in the last. I'm going to ask you to take the picture down so I can see you again.
Sorry about that. Yeah.
No, don't be sorry. Why would you know? You're not a television producer, right? We all got our own skill sets.
One more though, I'd like to show if you don't mind.
Oh yeah, show it away. I love it.
My young boy.
Oh my guy.
We got him in the Iowa gear.
Congratulations. You got a second generation prepped and ready to go. No basketball in his future.
Oh no, zero. Straight working on our takedowns and his stance. It's going well.
Oh, what's his name, Jordan?
Antonio.
I love it, man. Kudos to your wife, and I'm looking forward to following the career, man. Looking forward to, getting to know you even better over the coming years, and so happy that we've been able to make the connection. In case you couldn't tell by the last half hour, this is subject matter that gets me pretty fired up. Really excited and happy for you. Excited to see the success you guys are enjoying on a company level. As I've said, no surprise given your background and that training that you have and the mindset that you carry into what you're doing, that you're seeing that happen. And as I've mentioned, listen, this is not the easiest time in commercial real estate. The last, since the Fed rate hikes in 2022, to be seeing that kind of growth, you guys are to be commended. That's awesome to see.
Thank you very much. Much appreciated.
Oh, my pleasure. He is the business development director for MLCO Construction. I am the director of business development for S3 Partners. Maybe that's why we have so much fun, because we're two business development guys that like to hang out and smile. Yeah, you can reach him at jkader at MLCO Construction. You can see his email down on the screen. My man Eric behind the scenes is going to throw up their website as well. Talk about amazing producers. I'm lucky to have Eric with me. He's the brains behind this podcast. I want to give one more shout out to my friends at Kiwi Construction. Shout out to Wayne Woosley and his team. I'm going to ask you guys, if you can, say a prayer for Wayne. He is going through some stuff in his personal life I'm not going to make public, but just know that it would be really cool for me if you guys can think of him and keep him in your prayers. We love that team at Kiwi 2 Construction. They've been providing steel in the self-storage business for over 30 years. Wayne really moved over from New Zealand and brought this whole construction steel to the self-storage industry. So love these guys. They can help you with any projects you're on, and keep them in your thoughts. So thankful to have them as supporters of the podcast. Jordan, we're going to wrap it up. That's it for this. Oh, subscribe to the channel. This goes on YouTube. We air it live on LinkedIn, but go on the YouTube channel and subscribe. Please get updates when all the new episodes come out. Jordan, can't thank you enough. Look forward to talking to you more as we get involved in different projects. That is it for this week's episode of the Stories Behind the Door podcast. We'll see you next week.